Hey everyone, and welcome to 1.21 Gigawatts. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we talk about movies on this show. This is actually our weekly movie news show. I said that weird. That's not how I usually introduce this.
Yeah. What the hell was that?
Well, that's how I say it when we're going to talk about a movie. I forgot we were doing news for a second and said the other thing. It's fine. Oh, my TV's turned off. Everything's going wrong in the first
This is as shambolic as always.
5 seconds.
Right out the gate.
How dare it? How dare it undermine me like this? TV bastard. Anyway, so yeah, we talk about movies, we look at the box office, we talk about comic movie news, genre movie news, horror movie news, all that kind of stuff. And at the end, if we've watched any movies that were not for review purposes, we might chat about them a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
I've got a couple actually.
Do you? Do I? I don't think I do, technically, but I did watch a movie on stream, and I think it's worth talking about, actually. Because it's not like I'm going to do a separate review for it.
So, you do have a movie that wasn't for a review.
Yes. Yes. Although, I mean, I could turn them into solo reviews if I felt like it, just for the sake of...
But can you be asked?
I mean, maybe. I mean, if the one I'm going to talk about was a bit of a fad when it first released, if I'd done it right away, I probably would have been tempted to put up a video about it.
Okay.
Whereas now it's a bit late, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, start off with some box office. We made some guesses for this week. I don't know why we didn't do last week too. For some reason we didn't. I felt like it was probably worth doing, but hey ho, we didn't.
It didn't occur to us clearly.
I guess.
Yeah. I think we came back after the Christmas break and just forgot how we do this show.
I think we did. So number one was Glass, again with 19 million. So that's, I mean, it's a normal enough drop. It's 52%, which is fine. Yeah, it's pretty standard. What's that doing at worldwide now? Is that doing well? It's 162, and it had a 20 million budget, so I mean, that's doing quite well.
Can't complain.
I like seeing more low-budget movies, actually, coming out. It fills me with some amount of joy, because I feel like the movie industry has kind of veered towards these mega-budget things where they have to be so successful to be remotely profitable, but I'm pleased by this. I've not seen the movie. I'm seeing it tomorrow, actually. I'm actually going tomorrow.
Yeah, but you're pleased even if you end up finding it shit. Because it's not about the quality here. It's about proving that low budget movies can be successful.
I am pleased what it means in the industry, not pleased. I'm not necessarily. I mean, I might be pleased about the quality, but
no, exactly. That was my point. The quality is irrelevant to this point.
Yes. Number two is The Upside with 12.2 million. Number three is Aquaman with 7.3 million.
What did we guess for?
We're getting that. We're getting to that. Aquaman, for the record, is now at 1,090 million, which is actually makes it the highest grossing DC movie, not just of this universe, of just any DC movie. It outgrossed Dark Knight Rises, which is a little upsetting because I think those Nolan movies are much better, but at the same time...
Inflation.
That's true. You know what? It's close enough that inflation is actually a factor here.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually close enough that it is. Although it's still going to be in theaters for a few weeks at least. So we'll see. But it's good in the sense that at least they maybe have some confidence in DC movies again. Maybe they can, because they're wanting one back for Aquaman 2. We'll talk about that in the news a little bit. They've got Patty Jenkins back for Wonder Woman 2.
Yeah, it's good for the solo movies of let's just make a bloody movie rather than worry about it being part of a larger universe.
Yes, I said last week I don't think it deserves necessarily this amount of money, but if it means they can keep improving, I will happily take it. Number four was one we guessed for, which was The Kid Who Would Be King. So keep in mind, Aquaman was 7.3 million.
So whatever we did, we vastly overguessed.
You guessed 14. I guessed 18.
Oh, I win.
7.2 million was the actual amount.
Hey, I was only double it.
I was only like 2.5 it, so...
Not good enough.
Number five is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse with 6.1 million. What's that worldwide, actually? I love that movie. I'm invested in what it was doing. 338 is that on a 90 million budget, and that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
That's very good. Number 6 was Green Book with 5.4 million. Number 7 was A Dog's Way Home with 5.2 million. And the second film we guessed came in at number 8, which was Serenity, not to be confused with The Firefly Serenity.
Tell me we guessed this bombed.
You guessed 8 million.
Oh, you went to 7, didn't you, you prick?
I guess 7. I take it. It's a tie. Up yours. Yeah. All right.
Because I remember that. I remember because I guessed first, and you agreed that we were in the ballpark, and you didn't know if you wanted to go lower or higher.
Yep, I picked right. That's good. And despite the fact this is from the director-writer of Locke, which I love and thought was the best movie of 2014, the reviews have not been kind to this.
Yes, I saw this was Anne Hathaway's lowest opening weekend ever.
Oh well.
Yeah.
It's hard to get enthusiastic after the bad buzz.
That is some real buzz there, isn't it?
I mean, obviously, I cared because I liked the director. The trailer itself didn't do much for me, though.
I'm struggling to remember the trailer, genuinely. And I mean, I know we watched this. I know we've spoken about it. I know what the movie is, but I'm struggling to remember the trailer itself.
That's fair. Number 9 was Escape Room with 4.2 million. I'm actually curious what's that done worldwide, just because
probably all right.
Probably very low budget. Yeah, it was made for 9 million and it's made 76.
That'll do.
Yeah, there you go. That's what's good about horror movies. You can make I don't know if that's any good, admittedly, I've not seen it, but you can make a decent horror movie at a really low price and make some bank.
Yeah.
That's what's good about them.
It's why that they never go out of fashion, really, because they're always a solid investment.
They're always cheap, yeah.
Yeah.
And then number 10 was Dragon Ball Super Broly with 3.6 million, or Broly.
I think it's more likely Broly.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's the third highest grossing anime film in the US now.
Yeah, I said Broly and Instinct because Broly's slang here for umbrella.
Yeah, but that's 2 L's.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying. I saw it and instinctively said Broly. All right, what do you want from me?
I mean, I agree with the slang, but 2 L's. Come on.
Okay, that's it though. That's it.
Is there anything interesting next week?
That's a good question. That's a very.
I actually don't know.
I was just checking what Bumblebee did. It's on 438 million. Which that came out number 11, or no, sorry, 12 for the record. So what's coming next week? That's a very good question. And what are we guessing? We have 2 things I think we can guess for. Neither one's going to be a huge film, I don't think, but we can guess for both. We have
100 million.
We have Miss Bala.
I don't remember what this one is.
Gina Rodriguez, she's kind of recruited.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I wrote down Miss Rodriguez there, because I was saying it as I was writing it.
Yeah.
And then the other one is Arctic, which is the
Mads Mikkelsen one.
Mads Mikkelsen, yeah.
Yeah, there's one that I think is going to be the better film.
But not necessarily the higher grossing.
No. Although, like I said, I don't think either of them do particularly well.
Yes.
I'm going to go 13 and 7. 7.
13-7. I'm going to with 12.
If you do 12 and 6, I'm going to punch you in the face.
No, I'm going to do 12 and 8.
Okay.
I'm going to say Arctic's going to be stronger than what you said, but maybe not by much. But enough for the victory.
This is going to be close.
So
we both agree on the general area, though.
Yeah, I mean, I could also see them both doing like 5 each. Like, you know, it's not great. So that'll take us out of the box office and on to the news. And usually we start with comic book, but I think we're actually going to start with something else this week, just because the Oscar nominations were announced, and we can not talk about all of them. We will do predictions for these, but we'll do that the week before the Oscars, rather than now.
Okay.
I just want to give a bit of a recap of some of the bigger awards. Maybe talk about any surprises, you know, that we have or the general, you know, movie-going world has. So, Best Picture, the obvious place to start.
Start with the big surprise.
Yeah, Black Panther, nominated for Best Picture.
I'm going to offend a lot of people here where I just say, doesn't deserve it. Just doesn't. It's a good film. It's not Best Picture worthy. Not by a long shot. And I said the same about Wonder Woman last time when this conversation came up. Here's
my thing, though. I don't think it's any less worthy of Best Picture than 60% of what they nominate for Best Picture.
Do you mean specifically this year or in general?
In general. I usually think like half of what they nominate does not deserve to be there. Sometimes more than half.
That's fair. I think this one sticks out because
what? Because it's a superhero movie?
No, not just because it's a superhero. I mean, that probably doesn't help in that it feels like they've kind of got, okay, I guess we should recognize the event because that Dark Knight is the whole reason that they expanded this category, right?
Yeah, but to me this is almost no different to like Mad Max Fury Road getting nominated. It's hey, this is the popular one, we're going to give it a bone, but it's never going to win. The difference here, though, to play devil's advocate, is at least from a cultural point of view, this is way more significant.
It's more significant. It doesn't make it a better movie.
Yes, but since when are the Oscars just purely about what's the better movie? You can't answer me that and say, oh yeah, it's always about what's the best quality movie. Sometimes it's about what's relevant. Now, sometimes Crash wins, and we all scratch our heads and wonder what the hell's happening. But, or Moulin Rouge wins, or what else? What else was?
People really like Moulin Rouge. To be fair.
Aye, people do. I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, didn't Chicago? That was the one. Even other people who like musicals scratched their heads at Chicago. I remember.
Yeah.
People were mystified by that. So Black Panther, because it's a superhero movie and because of the cultural impact, it's got everyone talking about it. It's got everyone either being like, oh, it should be here, it shouldn't be here. It's turned into this heated thing. And even you felt the need to start this with just say it doesn't deserve to be here, rather than talk about anything else first. Which strikes me as, I don't know, everyone's got like a hot take. I just feel like, do I think it deserves to be in the top 10 best films of the year? Well, we're not going to have top 10s yet. I'll spoil it and say, I don't think it does. I think it deserves to be in the top 25 for sure. Top 10, not so much. I think it's a good film. I think it's got a weaker third act.
Yeah.
And if it nailed that third act, because I will say this, the motivations for the villain in that movie are by far the best in any Marvel movie.
They are, absolutely.
So, if it nailed the third act, I would be probably championing it here.
If it didn't devolve into really kind of
bad CG,
stodgy CG, yeah.
The thing is, though, I think the other thing that hurts it as well is that you say, okay, this is a superhero movie that was nominated, it's the first one, is you look at other superhero movies come out this year and you go, hey, I kind of preferred this one. Like, I think for me, especially, I would say Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is a better movie.
That's the obvious one that should have been, Sony should have been given that a Best Picture push. Yeah, go back to like, the way Disney treated Beauty and the Beast when that came out,
sure,
and they, obviously it didn't get there, but they pushed. We were like, we want this in Best Picture.
Now, don't get me wrong. It is great that got Best Animated, or it's been nominated for Best Animated Film. Right, that's fantastic. I'm glad that's there. But it's just, I think that's the other problem is that you easily compare it to every other movie because the genre is still, even though it feels like there's a lot of superhero movies, it's relatively small enough that you can say, here were the 7 that came out. Here's my opinion on each one and which one's better than this one and that one.
The cynic in me does say that they included this as a part of trying to get more people involved. Yeah, obviously they wanted to do that popular award and then they had to scrap that because everyone was like, the hell's this bollocks?
Well, yeah, because people looked at that and said, this is just so you can nominate something like this without giving it the real award. It's the congeniality award.
And I think what's really interesting is when we get to some of the other nominations in this that probably could also have been eligible for that award if you went on like box office and public perception.
Yeah. It's just a weird thing to me for people to complain that it's here when there's the idea of having the one popular pick is not new. Mad Max was another example of this just a couple of years ago. And then on top of that, like, it's better than some of the other films nominated. Like so.
I mean, I'm not willing to state that on record because out of the ones that I have personally seen, it is not.
I'm looking at the list. I've not actually seen any of the other ones yet. But
yeah, so that was a really unfair statement.
I am willing to bet you money I like Black Panther more than A Star Is Born. I am willing to put my foot down in the sand and say that is true.
I will agree. You would probably say that. I don't know if I will. I'm really looking forward to seeing A Star Is Born.
Anyway, so the rest of the film. See, the fact that we spoke about this so much already. Everyone has to talk about it. I was ready to just list through them. You had to jump in and give your hot take. Don't get me wrong. I would agree that cynically, I assume the Academy are doing this more for PR than they are doing it for any other reason. But at the same time, I don't think it's that undeserving compared to a lot of other things they've nominated in the past. I can't really speak to the ones nominated this year yet. I plan on seeing at least 3 or 4 of them. There's other ones that I don't care about. I'm never going to watch. Because it's the same every year. Because sometimes they nominate boring looking movies. What can I say? They just do sometimes. Do you know what the problem is the 2 or 3 of them that I thought might be interesting ended up having really kind of middling receptions. And it's just kind of like, you know what? Because a movie like Vice, for example, that had a good trailer, and I like to look at that based on The Big Short. But that's the sort of movie where if that doesn't get good reviews, if people seem to be lukewarm on it, I'm not interested, because the subject itself does not interest me. I am interested based on the energy that I got from the trailer. If it doesn't actually have that energy, I don't care.
Do you know, I recommended The Big Short to someone this week.
And they thought you were telling me something else?
No.
Okay.
They turned it off after half an hour and said it was boring. I'm like, what?
Admittedly, I have no desire to watch it again since I saw it.
That's fair, but he'd never seen it before, and was like, "Oh, should I watch it?" I went, "Yeah, it's pretty good."
So, so the rest of the nominees with BlacKkKlansman, which I'm looking forward to watching, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favourite, Green Book, Roma, which I'm looking forward to watching, A Star Is Born, and Vice. So Roma and BlacKkKlansman are the ones I'm looking forward to checking out. But
I've seen BlacKkKlansman, very good. Obviously, I spoke about that on one of these episodes. Roma is an interesting one to talk about.
It's a Netflix movie getting nominated for Best Picture.
It is. Netflix, obviously, it's the first one that they've had nominated for Best Picture. It's a big deal for them. It's giving them some genuine cred in the industry. Whereas, up until recently, they're seen as like, kind of just trying to get in there a bit.
The babysitter was robbed.
I don't necessarily disagree. But they've spent more on their, the for your consideration marketing push than they did on the movie. The movie cost them $15 million. They've spent $25 million on pushing it to the Academy.
Hey, that's a good PR. That's a lot of good buzz. Even if it doesn't win, all this attention.
Yeah, I think it's tied for most nominations here.
Yeah. So that's your best pictures. Best director, we got Spike Lee for BlacKkKlansman. We got Paweł Pawlowski for Cold War. We got Yorgos Lanthimos for The Favourite. We have Alfonso Cuarón for Roma, and we have Adam McKay for Vice. Best actor, we've got Christian Bale for Vice, Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born, William Dafoe for Eternity's Gate. We've got Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, and Viggo Mortensen for Green Book. What's interesting about William Dafoe there's always one where I'm like, that movie's not really been spoken about that much, but the actor nod will be just there. Because I remember that trailer.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty much been the situation in Best Actress in this award season for the most part.
Yeah, because we got Yalitza Aparicio from Roma, who was a first-time actor. So she's probably feeling like, what happened to my life? Like, 2 years ago, all of a sudden I'm in this movie and I'm been nominated for Best Actress. Glenn Close for The Wife, Olivia Colman for The Favourite, Lady Gaga for A Star Is Born. That's another weird one. Lady Gaga, well, not as weird as the next one, admittedly. I actually think Lady Gaga is less surprising a name to read than Melissa McCarthy for Can You Ever Forgive Me?
Yeah, I hate this because now that every time there's a stupid Melissa McCarthy comedy, it's going to have, Academy Award nominee.
Let's hope it's just nominee.
I'm being optimistic.
So
Lady Gaga is a weird one as well, though. Like, can you imagine 5 years ago when she was just starting acting on like American Horror Story, the stuff like that, little bits here or there, and it's like, oh yeah, she's going to be up for an Oscar.
Yeah. So there's your actresses. Supporting actor Mahershala Ali for Green Book. Some disputes over that one because many see him as a co-lead to Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, I don't want to speak to it myself, having not seen it.
Yeah, I've not seen it either. The reception to that one's been very kind of interestingly mixed, shall we say. Some controversy, particularly the family of the character that Mahershala plays are being quite vocal about the portrayal. Not him as an actor, but just the writing and what the story is. Adam Driver for BlacKkKlansman, Sam Elliott for A Star Is Born, Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me, and Sam Rockwell for Vice. Best Supporting Actress, we've got Amy Adams for Vice. She's been nominated so many times now at this point, right? Marina Di Tavira for Roma. That's another one.
That one was actually quite a the lead actress, she was popping up in a lot of other places. The This one should not have been anywhere else. This was kind of out of the blue.
Yeah, Regina King for If Beale Street Could Talk, Emma Stone for The Favourite, and Rachel Weisz for The Favourite. So there you go. We got a. Those are your acting awards. I'm going to skip some of the other ones here. I don't want to do like every category now. Not all the ones we're going to guess when we get to the predictions and stuff like that.
No, I'd like to talk about animated and director. Did we do director?
We did director. Yeah.
Oh, we did director. Yeah. Okay, that was interesting. The notable omission in director, or what I think is notable based on all the other things here, is no Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born. And I said, given that he wrote, directed, starred, produced, and I believe he's got nominations for everything else except direction, and and he was getting nominations for that everywhere else. So it was an interesting.
I mean, you've got 8 or 9 nominees for Best Picture. Some of them can't be in the 5 for Best Director. So I
agree, but it was an interesting miss, given that's where most people had expected that to come out, and Pavlovsky for Cold War was not really expected to be in that running. I don't think.
Yeah. Let's put that movie on my radar though, because I didn't even really know about it before these nominations.
No, me either. I'd heard it in a few of the other awards places, in the foreign film, but that was about it.
Yeah. So best animated you wanted to do. Where are we? Here we are. Best animated: Incredibles 2, Isle of Dogs, Mirai, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really tight category.
I've only seen one of them, so I can't really.
I've seen 4 out of the 5.
Let me guess, Mirai is the one you've not seen.
It is, but I want to because it looks kind of good.
I will get. I should probably try and get Incredibles 2 watched before we do our top 10s and stuff, for sure.
Yeah, I love both Incredibles 2 and Spider-Verse. Like, I really love both of those.
I would be surprised if Incredibles 2 beat Spider-Verse for me, but that's just an assumption based on.
For you, okay. I thought you meant. I thought you were making a prediction.
No, based on me, because like I loved Into Spider-Verse, and I really like Incredibles 1, but I don't. It's not my favorite Pixar like it is for you. So,
Yeah. No, that's fair.
And this is all just a preamble for How to Train Your Dragon 3 coming out this year. Anyway, to be honest, that's all it is.
Yeah, I can't believe we didn't plan to do the first 2 as influxes.
We'll look at the schedule.
I don't know. We got other movies to catch up on for this.
We'll look at the schedule. Because we should do How to Train Your Dragon 1 and 2, damn it.
Yeah.
See if Matt's up for it. He probably won't be, but I'll see.
Yeah.
Hell, I'll rewatch them and do it myself, damn it. Where are we? So yeah, I'll do it in terms of what I want to talk about for the most part. Yeah. So I was glad to see Black Panther wasn't nominated for visual effects, because his visual effects were easily the worst part of that movie.
Yeah, what was nominated for visual effects?
Avengers: Infinity War, Christopher Robin, First Man, Ready Player One. Ready Player One's a bit of a weird choice for me.
It's an interesting choice in that I think it does exactly what it's supposed to do for its style. It just doesn't necessarily appeal to you.
I think it's visually unpleasant.
But that's in its style rather than its technical ability, right?
This is a fine line, because I mean, I guess that's true, but I have a critique of even choosing to make a lot of what was there digital, if that makes sense. Like, a big problem for me was, like, this is unnecessary.
Well, I don't disagree with this.
So
I don't disagree with your opinion here.
And then the last one was a Solo Star Wars Story.
Which had some really good effects in it, I want to say.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
Never saw it, as you know.
No, but a good mix of practical and CG effects.
That's what I like. I like a mix of practical and CG. That's what I do. So there you go, top 10. I have to admit, I'm not super excited about any, like, I mean, I'm never super excited about the Oscars. It's kind of a arm's length thing for me. Ultimately, they never agree with what the best movie is with what I do, so it doesn't really matter.
No, that's fair.
Your own lists are more important, people.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, I rarely line up with them. Every so often, maybe, but very rarely. But I still like just, watching them all, see, at least having my opinion before I disregard it and go, oh, they're just wrong on these. I want to know that they're wrong.
Yeah, I don't watch something just because they've nominated it though. I've done that in the past, and I always end up feeling at least 2 or 3 of them are like, you know what, that was a waste of time. I wish I hadn't spent 6 hours of my life.
That's fair. Out of the 8 though, there's maybe only 1 or 2 that I'd be watching just because they were nominated.
Yeah, there's a few I'd be watching just because they're nominated, and I'm definitely not for some of them. I may try The Favourite because you said it was good.
I really liked it.
I want to see Black Klansman in Roma, and I'm not against watching Bohemian Rhapsody at some point because I like Malek.
Yeah, and in terms of anticipation, the lowest on my list are definitely Green Book and Vice, but both of those I'm very open to watching. Like, they're not ones that I'm like, oh, no chance. So, it's not a bad looking year for me.
All right, so that'll take us on to the news.
Comic book news?
Comic book news to begin with, as per usual. So I alluded to this earlier. The first thing I'm just going to mention here is that Warner Bros. Are already prepping plans for Aquaman 2. They've got Wan in discussions to oversee the development of the second film, including a selection of writers, and then he'll make a decision after the script is done if he'll direct it or not.
Yeah, I'm not surprised given that it made $1 billion.
Nor am I. So that makes sense.
If I were them, I'd be doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. Part of me is like, nah, say no and go do a horror movie, because I think he's better at horror than he is.
I don't disagree with that.
I think it's no surprise that the best sequence in the movie was the most horror-esque section.
That's fair.
But hey, next up, Lego Batman director Chris Mackay is going to direct a movie for Netflix called Reborn.
Definitely not doing that Nightwing thing.
Yeah, Nightwing's not. At least if he is, it's just years off at this point. He's got other projects lined up. So this is based on the Millarworld comic. Obviously, Netflix bought Millarworld a while ago. Sandra Bullock is producing it. She might star. It's not, she's not decided yet, basically, but she's producing. So this is a sci-fi fantasy comic series by Mark Millar and Greg Capullo. It tells the story of an 80-year-old woman, Bonnie Black, who dies in Manhattan Hospital, only to find herself reborn in the prime of her life in the afterlife world of Adistria, a magical land of monsters and dragons where good and evil are waging an eternal war. There she finds old friends and loved ones waiting, except the husband who died before her. Armed with a sword and partnered with her late father, she sets off through the battle-torn landscape on a quest to find out where he is.
I can see this being a good movie.
As can I. The idea that you die, you go to the afterlife, but someone you were expecting to be there is missing, and you have to go find them. That is a core concept that's actually kind of interesting.
Say what you want about Mark Millar. He has good ideas.
He has good ideas. He just sometimes Mark Millar's it up too much.
It does. My hope, obviously I've not read this, my hope is that this is a joy to read for Capullo's art, if nothing else.
Yeah, that would be the hope. There's actually technically one more bit of comic book news, but it's kind of tied into similar release date stuff. So moving on to Blockbuster news. We have Sony release dates to talk about, one of which is Morbius, the Spider-Man spin-off, and also Ghostbusters, the Jason Reitman Ghostbusters, which I'm curious what they're going to end up calling this. Like, is it just going to be... Because if they call it just Ghostbusters, it's just like 3 years after the last movie just called Ghostbusters.
It'll be a subtitle.
You'd
Ghostbusters, hope. The Next Generation.
Just call it that, that's fine.
They could, and no one would bat an eyelid.
Yeah. So Ghostbusters is going to come out on July 10th, 2020. Morbius is going to come out on July 31st, 2020. So they're just a few weeks apart.
Okay.
So they're trying to take July. Sony's gunning for July. And they've also put a placeholder for a Marvel film called, on October 2nd, 2020, which is very likely going to be Venom 2.
Yeah. So you mentioned you had some news that tied into a comic book story. Was it not to do with Morbius? Have you missed a news story?
What are you talking about?
The casting in Morbius?
Oh yeah, you Matt Smith?
Yeah, that probably should have been mentioned. Look, just because you don't give a shit about Morbius, and I'm not saying I do either, does not mean you get to slack on this job.
Okay, fine. Matt Smith's been cast in Morbius.
Yes.
There we go.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Moving on. So, F. Gary Gray, who directed Straight Outta Compton, and he's doing Men in Black International, has got optioned the rights to Echo, which is a third-person sci-fi video game, which I'd heard of. There was a trailer for the game on this article that I had a quick look at. I don't think it's out yet, but
I'm not familiar with it.
So, they want to do a movie of it. John Wick creator, writer Derek Kolstad is going to write the screenplay. Gary's only producing the movie, he's not directing it, just to make that clear. He's producing. So Echo is an action thriller developed by and published by Copenhagen-based Ultra. It follows the character of N, as En, as she arrives at the vast and mysterious palace hidden in the depths of space. The palace creates copies called Echoes that study her and use her own actions against her.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I can see that working. I can see it working in a game, but I can also see
why you want that for a movie.
Yeah, almost a psychological horror element of what it does to you to see copies of yourself and them fighting you and yada yada. I see ideas there that could work.
Yeah.
So there you go. Next up, Waterman Entertainment has acquired the rights to The Billionaire's Curse, an Australian children's book series by Richard Newsom. Plans are in the works to make a live-action film about the books, which have sold more than 1 million copies worldwide. The Billionaire's Curse, originally published in 2010, is the first book in a series of 6. Newsom is currently working on the next installment. I presume it just means the newest one, rather than the second one, because that feels like a while ago, if he's only on the second one.
Yeah, I would assume it meant the 7th one. Because that was a series of 6, right?
Sure, yeah,
so I assume it means the 7th one he's working on.
Well, sometimes these articles mean that it's a planned 6-book series, and they'll say, oh, he's working on the 3rd, or he's working on the 4th right now.
It's true. It's true, yeah.
Anyway, the plot revolves around a protagonist named Gerald Green, a 13-year-old who inherits $20 billion from a great aunt he never knew. And with his new fortune comes a letter asking him to find her killer. So, it's a kid's adventure with hijinks, I assume. That's what it is. Next up, Netflix has won an auction for a film called Hillbilly Elegy. J.D. Vance wrote the book. Ron Hubbard's directing the movie. Shape of Water co-writer Vanessa Taylor is adapting it. Vance's memoir is a bestseller for 74 weeks. It is critically revered account of growing up in the Rust Belt and a personal analysis of the white underclass, race and privilege in America. Vance, raised poor among the working class hillbillies, explores his childhood and family struggles as they navigate drug addiction and social and economic challenges. Supported by his larger-than-life grandmother, he developed a deep appreciation for education that laid the foundation for him to rise out of poverty and its cultural restraints. So,
sounds a bit dry for me to get excited by.
It does. They mentioned that Ron Howard, it's basically a passion project for Ron Howard, which...
I think Ron Howard's a pretty solid director, at the worst.
I don't know if it gets me excited about this, though.
I agree with that. It doesn't... I mean, I've got to see this. But, I mean, this could be pretty good. I mean, it could be very good.
I find Ron Howard to be a very workman director. And I enjoyed Apollo 13. I enjoyed Rush. But they're not standouts for me. But I'm like, no, those were movies I put on a pedestal. My favorite thing Ron Howard's done is the narration for Arrested Development.
That's just because you haven't seen Solo yet.
Cue narrator's voice. It was. If you've seen Arrested Development, you'll appreciate that. Last thing in the general news section, actually, we have some casting. Yeah, it's not.
Is this it?
Yeah, it's not a big news week.
Yeah.
So, The Sopranos creator David Chase has found his younger Tony Soprano, because they're making this prequel movie. It's called The Many Saints of New York, and this is actually probably the easiest casting they've ever done.
Yes.
Because they've cast his son to play the younger version of himself. Obviously, James Gandolfini passed away a number of years ago now, but his son Michael Gandolfini is going to play the young version of him. And I'm like, yeah, assuming he's a half-decent actor, this is the obvious thing you do.
It is, isn't it? Why wouldn't you do this?
So why not? So there you go. Never seen The Sopranos myself, but obviously I know it's popular and has a lot of cred, so worth mentioning. Which does take us on to the horror section of this week's movie news.
No, got anything interesting in this one?
There's a few things here. Horror thriller A Brilliant Monster, which premiered last June at the Dances with Films Festival in LA, has been acquired by Gravitas Ventures. The film is slated for a limited theatrical run and on-demand release in May 2019. This is the fifth feature by F.C. Rabith and is based on his 2015 short Dead Meat. Dennis Freeb plays the successful author of an inspirational self-help story who hides his dark secrets that create his ideas, and they are supplied by a monster that must be kept fed with human flesh. So I don't know if it's saying that he's got a dark side and he needs to either eat human flesh or kill people to feed it, or if there's literally like a monster.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure there. A little bit unclear.
I'm tempted to say the former, but
interesting. If you'd pushed me, I'd have gone with the latter.
Yeah. Hides his dark secret. His dark secret that his creative ideas are supplied by a hidden monster and they must be kept fed with human flesh. Yeah, okay. It kind of sounds like he's got a monster in a basement.
Yeah, that's going. Hey, I'll tell you story ideas if you give me food.
Yeah, maybe. Which makes it a bit more schlocky, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be worse. That could be more fun and better.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
But hey, so that's a brilliant monster. Because the title makes me think it could go either way.
I agree. Yeah. Even with that description, the way we're saying, I mean, if push, I can say maybe it's a real monster. If you tell me it's all metaphorical and he just has to eat human flesh to be inspired, and that's like this dark thing,
I can see it.
Yeah.
Next up, Diary of a Wimpy Kid star Zachary Gordon. That's not a horror movie. What are you talking about? No, Zachary Gordon, Nikki Cross from Freeform's Famous in Love, and Olivia Sue have been cast in an indie horror thriller called Dreamcatcher. Jacob Johnson wrote the script and will helm the film as his directorial debut. It is an ensemble piece that follows a group who plan to avenge the mysterious death of their friend at a music festival, only to end up stalked by the same assailant. So,
is this supernatural? It feels supernatural.
Yeah, the title makes it sound that way, but the description to me sounds like they just go after the killer and then the killer starts stalking them because they're...
Yeah, but mysterious death. Yeah. It's something supernatural.
Yes.
Kind of put me off that a bit.
I agree. I'm not. It doesn't sound like it's going to be good, but you never know. You never know. Right direction could work. Next up, Nicolas Cage is set to his one of his next films here, called Color Out of Space, a horror film based on the H.P. Lovecraft 1927 novella. The film was directed by South African filmmaker Richard Stanley, and his first feature in 20 years.
Okay.
For Cage, it's a reteam with producer Spectrovision, who did Mandy this last year. So, the story centers on the Gardeners, a family who moves to a remote New England farmstead to escape the hustle of the 21st century. They are busy adapting to their new life when a meteorite crashes into their front yard. It seems to melt into the earth, infecting both the land and the properties of space-time with a strange, otherworldly colour. And to the family's horror, they discover that the alien force is gradually mutating every life form that it touches, including them.
Okay.
I can see crazy Nick Cage, and I can see gold.
Yeah. Potentially, yeah.
I hope it touches him, and I hope he goes apeshit, and that's the Nick Cage I want to watch.
I get that.
So that's what I'm going with. Next up, one of the most... Yes, 20th Century Fox. Yeah, 20th Century Fox is developing Fear Street, which is an R.L. Stine book series. They're developing a trilogy of films based on this. And they already had Lee Janiak set to direct, but it now turns out that he's only going to direct one of the movies. The idea is that each movie is going to be directed by someone different. And yeah, so one name that's in talks right now is Alex Ross Perry, who most recently directed Her Smell, starring Elizabeth Moss. That was the punk rock one, I think. Yeah. In 1989, 3 years before Goosebumps came into the scene and made him a household name, R.L. Stine launched a lesser-known series of books called Fear Street, taking place in the fictional city of Shadyside, Ohio. The teen-orientated Fear Street pit teenagers up against adversaries, both human and paranormal, and a total of 52 stories comprise the original line. So it's quite a lot of this. So there's actually a little description for each of the three movies, bizarrely.
Based on 3 different books, I assume?
Well, I don't know. It sounds like they're all really well connected, because Fear Street number 1, in 1994, in the aftermath of a brutal tragedy in Shadyside, Ohio, a group of teens discover that a series of horrifying events that have plagued their town over many years must not be random, and that they may be the next victims.
Okay.
Fear Street 2. Again, these probably won't be the titles, this is just what they're going with. In 1978, Camp Nightwing. Camp Nightwing. A lot of dick in that camp. Camp Nightwing is divided by the campers and the councillors who hail from the prosperous town of Sunnyvale. Not Sunnydale, just for the record, like the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I need to point that out.
God damn it.
I'll admit, when I read this earlier, I thought I might accidentally read out the wrong name. I might read Sunnydale. And the campers and maintenance staff from the town-run town of Shadyside. So Sunnyvale's like a neighbouring town.
Yeah.
But when horrors from their own town's shared history come alive, they must band together to solve a terrifying mystery before it's too late. So that's book 2, or movie 2.
Yeah.
Number 3. This is the one that makes me think they're all connected.
I was gonna say, because that didn't sound that connected. Yeah. That was like 20 years before.
Yeah. This one makes it sound like there's at least going to be some stuff from the 1994 cast in it, even though it's not set primarily there. In 1666. So we're way further back.
I'm interested now.
A colonial town is gripped by a hysterical witch hunt that has deadly consequences for centuries to come, and it's up to teenagers in 1994 to try and finally put an end to their town's curse before it's too late.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's going to have any footage of 1994 kids in the 1978 one, but it certainly sounds like the cast from the first one will come back and like it'll bookend the story. I do kind of like the idea of it going further back in time to the source with each movie.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it could be cool.
You know, if it's mapped that way, you know, people go, you don't like prequels. Yeah, but it's not prequels. It's actually mapped to be told in this. This is just like a movie been designed to tell the story backwards in Memento. That's not each scene's not a prequel to the previous scene. It's just that's how it was structured.
That's a narrative structure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before anyone gets wise in the comments. Anyway, so the final story of the week then is that the Strangers director Brian Bertino, who last directed Mockingbird and The Monster, is looking to get back behind the camera this spring on The Dark and the Wicked. This is from Bloody Disgusting. I mean, not all the horror stuff is from Bloody Disgusting, but some of it is.
Just most, usually.
It just depends what slips through the cracks at the other places. The Bloody Disgusting tend to have some more specific things like this.
Yeah.
They tend to write their descriptions a lot more personable, though, so I tend to have to edit them a little bit. Just so that they don't sound like it's not all first person. It's not all like, oh, I have learned this, and I, I have to think about it. But Bertino has also penned a screenplay about this. The description here is very unrevealing, but two siblings are summoned back to the family farm in the middle of nowhere to await the inevitability of their father's death. What initially appears to be the timeless ritual of loss and remembrance turns out to be something very different. So this is called The Dark and the Wicked. That makes me think that the father's probably an awful person, and whatever he's done in his life is going to cause chaos.
Probably. I mean, it's hard to get too excited about this one because there's so little to go on. I don't want to write it off either.
I like The Strangers though, so I mean,
that's fair enough. I'm sorry.
It's got something going for it at least. So, but hey, that was the last movie news story of the week. So here we are.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the point where, if we watch movies this week that weren't for review purposes, we can chat about them a bit more casually. Spoiler free, of course. Don't worry about that. You said you had a couple, so you can start with one.
Yeah, I got two. One, I watched Mandy this week. Well, I finished off Mandy this week. Yeah, didn't like it. It's not good. It's it's downright bad.
No, Connor's wrong, but this Mandy's fantastic.
No, it's a bad movie. I'm sorry.
No, it's fantastic. Connor is just downright wrong. Check out the Screams After Midnight review with me and Tim for some proper opinions on Mandy.
Thoroughly unenjoyable.
No, delightful. Delightful.
No.
Was that you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
I know you really like it, and I haven't got the energy to really fight. I just want you to know I really didn't like it.
All right. So, I watched Bird Box this week on stream with some viewers. I do a couple of live streams every week. The late one, we've made it a bit of a tradition every week where we'll watch a movie together in the back half. And this week's movie was Bird Box. because it was a lot of buzz. Everyone was talking about it. Not necessarily everyone was saying it was good, but it was definitely in the zeitgeist. There was memes flying, thick and fast. And I like the premise well enough. I thought the trailer was a bit muddy, but I liked the premise.
Yeah.
So I did watch Bird Box, and it's not bad. There's definitely some problems. I think there's some elements that are a bit rushed, and there's a couple of things that don't quite. I wish the supporting cast were better developed, because it felt like they're all just kind of there as fodder for people to lose along the way, as opposed to actually caring about a group of people who are surviving. Because it's got a timeline structure where it's set sort of, present day, where she's on this final trip with the two kids, and that's kind of we see a lot of the images from where they're blindfolded and they're going around. But there's all these, most of the movie, in fact, is actually the flashbacks to when everything started and how things developed back at the start of this, which is fine. But a lot of the side characters kind of felt like they were just there. There wasn't much personality. They could have done more with those. A couple of rushed elements. However, whenever it did have a death or a violent moment, it was kind of well done. There's a couple of really great deaths in this.
Fair enough.
The other problem I would say I'd have with it was probably the ending. The ending is just far too sugary sweet. For a movie that feels like everything's screwed the entire time, it felt really against tone to have this really happy ending. A happy ending, by the way, which the chat and I actually kind of predicted long before we got there.
Okay.
There was a really...
Half of them had probably seen it already.
No, this was from someone who hadn't seen it. But it's a really obvious reveal to do at some point in this movie, given what the premise is. It's really obvious to go, yeah, but what about this? And that was what the ending was this.
Right, okay.
So...
Bit disappointing.
No, it's not bad. It's like a 6.5.
Disappointing. The ending was a bit disappointing.
Sure, yeah, the ending was disappointing. I'd say it's like a 6.5. It's not a bad movie, but it's not a great movie either. It's just it's almost good. There's just a couple of things, just
fair enough,
holding it back. But not a bad time. I don't regret watching it. And
I'll probably never bother.
I'm in all the jokes now, so and doing Netflix original seems to be the trend right now, because I think we're doing IO.
Why are you doing IO when you could do Polar? That new one.
Because I didn't realise it was out before the next one. We just decided, because we were looking at the movies that were there, and we're like, oh, we'll do IO next week.
Well, you can change it. Still got time.
Sure, I can. We can just do Polar the following week. It's fine.
Yeah, but it's more relevant this week.
That's true. It's more relevant this week. Yeah. But I want to see IO as well, so it's fine. Maybe I'll do a little individual review for that after I've watched it. I don't know. I'll see how I feel.
Basically, if one goes up, he did. If not, it'll just be him mentioning it here again this time next week.
Do I feel like going in depth? I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it. It was just I was like, I could have done a thing for Bird Box, but I didn't really get around to it. And it's been enough days now that I'll just leave it. But
yeah, fair enough.
All right, what was your other thing?
I watched Sicario 2, whatever that subtitle was.
Sicario 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. I watched it because I really liked the first one.
But
turns out what I really liked was the director.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's a perfectly mediocre movie.
Do you know what's funny is that I liked the director as well, but I just didn't think the direction was good enough to make me care about the story in the first one. So
I felt the first one was a bit overlong, but I really quite liked it overall.
So the idea that the second one takes away the good direction and it just leaves you with those characters, I'm like, yeah, no wonder.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I'd have thought it would have ended up being.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's just thoroughly mediocre. It's not even bad. It's just exists because they went, hey, we got some name recognition. We can get a sequel out of this.
Do you think they'll make a third one, or is that done?
I think it still made a reasonable amount of money, didn't it?
No idea.
So, if I recall, I seem to recall it doing all right. And if I'm remembering that right, probably. Yeah.
All right.
But I mean, like I said, it's so mediocre and kind of uninteresting and boring and bland, but not offensively bad at any stage. It's kind of just there, and kind of a waste of 2 hours, I suppose.
Well, there you go. If that's not damning, I don't know what is. So that brings it end to 1.21 Gigawatts movie news. I mentioned the live streams there. I should probably kind of promote that more properly. Every Monday, 8 PM UK, 3 PM Eastern, noon Pacific. There's the regular sort of time stream, where it's Q&A, talking about whatever sort of stuff we cover typically, news that's happened in the past week, shows that have been on, comics that have come out, whatever it is, wherever the chat takes me, pretty much. And then the late one is either Tuesday or Wednesday. This coming week, it's going to be Wednesday night. So the first half of that is just like the Monday one. Second half, we watch a movie together. And that's kind of it. And this past week, I even had a timestamp up in this one running.
Oh, get you!
Yeah, whatever the audience said. Hey, can you put a stop clock up just to so if we fall behind or whatever, we can make sure we're in sync. I was like, that's not a bad idea. So it was done.
Get you!
I know.
It's getting fancier every time.
I know. So you can check it out if you want. You can of course support us and what we do here. If you like all the content, you go to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and support us for as little as $1 per month. And in fact, the next exclusive thing for the $1 tier, the 121 extra, will be going up in the next day or two for patrons. So it's a movie preview of 2019. Oh
yeah, we already recorded that.
We recorded that already, yeah. We recorded
I was thinking, I don't remember that being on the schedule for this week.
Yeah, no, we've already done it.
That's fine. We're ahead of things.
We're ahead of things. That's going up in the next couple of days. That is basically me and Connor run down all these scheduled release dates at the time of recording for 2019.
One of which has already been pushed to at least next year.
Doesn't surprise me because
Chaos Walking, I think it was called.
Oh, is that pushed?
Yeah, pushed indefinitely following extensive reshoots.
Well, these things happen. We said it was all TDB.
Yeah. But that one I think was meant to be coming out in like March.
Oh, that
was a pretty early one. Yeah.
But there you go. So you can patrons can look for that. That's at the $1 tier. You get a 121 extra every other month. It alternates with almost cancelled extra. That's in the $1 tier. But then there's more stuff at the $5 tier and stuff. But if you want to support us, you can go over there and have a look at stuff. You can also support us by buying merch, which we have now. There's links in the description to the stores. There's a US one and a UK one. So go and have a look at that if you want. But of course, you can support us by commenting, liking, subscribing, all the usual things you can do on YouTube or even on the podcast app if you're on the Mail Fuzzing TV and Movie News feed. And you can rate us on iTunes, your podcast app, and
check out some of the other feeds. I mean, YouTube, folks, it's all there for you anyway. You got less work to do.
Yeah, if you want to see all the other audio feeds we have, just go to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. Like I said, the top post has a list of all the audio feeds. They're nice and handy and easy to find. They're hard things to say because they're all awkward.
They are, but if you like this and you want the movie reviews, say we have a whole feed dedicated to that.
Yeah. 2 in fact, because we have Mail Fuzz Movies, which has the new and classic movies, and we have Streams After Midnight, which is me and Tim doing all the horror movies. So whatever one's to your liking. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We also appreciate it. Keep watching movies, and we will see you next time.